quite too late, but late enough. You know, it's not about the CEO. It's not about the COO or the upper staff. It's not about any of those things. It's not about spinning down to everyone else, making subtle changes to try to bring back Starbucks to where it was not too long ago. And they're still wondering why is Starbucks having so many problems with this franchise? Why, oh why is it happening? They believe it's something that they're not doing. That can't be right because each time I go to Starbucks, it looks like they're doing things right. There's minimal mistakes. Sometimes there's other places that make the same kind of minimal mistakes. Now, whether it's hurting the franchise or not, I really can't tell you. However, by what I'm going through, or what they talk about, I think it's just the logistics. Because it's not really about the logistics either. It's not about the employees. And it's not about the employees' salutation in greeting its customers day in and day out with a smile. I'm thinking positive about the whole thing. Why? How you doing, Mason? Why are they trying to get the employees to do what they've been doing all the time when they first started Starbucks? What are they trying to do? I'm doing great. What are they trying to do? They're telling them to write things on the cups. I'm starting to see that. I see it once in a while anyway. And when I do go to Starbucks a great deal, I used to walk into them a lot. Many of them do know my name. I read somewhere where they want them to memorize somebody's name. I think that comes with the territory on the type of person you are individually. I meet people all the time, but I can't remember their names. But I remember their faces better than I remember their names. And sometimes I know I go and some of them know what I want. But I do make changes from time to time, even in other restaurants besides Starbucks. And they have a record sometimes of what I like and what I don't like. All the time. Thanks for giving me a thumbs up. All the time I go in there. Now some of them say, hey, I haven't seen you in quite some time. But then again, I go to more than one Starbucks, right? There were times where I went to two, three, four different Starbucks and they all know my name. I don't know their name, but I know when I see them and I know what type of service they give and I know that they greet customers as much as anyone can greet customers. especially repeat customers and new customers. And sometimes it's the ones that order their food up front and it's already there for them. Now I hear that they're talking about getting rid of that too, where you order ahead. That could be kind of manageable or changeable. I've never done that. I think sometimes, even when the Starbucks are crowded, now I've been where it's crowded, and I even tried my hand at, hey, what's going on, Branson? Cooper Gonzalez, what's up? I tried my hand at going to Starbucks with my laptop computer, trying to do some things. Sometimes I go there to write. I haven't been doing that lately because sometimes I do it in my vehicle. And sometimes I feel a little safer inside my vehicle anyway. And sometimes the seats are not swanky enough to really sit down. And there's been coffee shops where I go to the same one and I see the same person there. They can be writing riffs or notes for the guitar or playing the guitar silently with earphones and other types of work that they're doing. So I've been through some Starbucks that were very crowded and they hardly ever made a mistake. And that was one of the ones that closed down. There was one in Pasadena particularly, across the street from a college, and they closed it down probably because of the lease and the people wanted the building back and they put a bank or another restaurant there. All kinds of little things that make a Starbucks move or make any franchise move for that matter. So I had my share. Sometimes they spell my name wrong, just like I say sometimes. But is it really necessary? No, it's not necessary in my eyes for them to go through all that because the service is good by and large. And even when I drive up enough times, they know who I am, some of them just by speaking what my name. Now, of course, they are asking people their names when you do the drive up now. There's probably some issues with that, and I don't blame them. You know, it might be some kind of issue with that, but I don't mind giving my name, but I still don't really remember theirs. But there's some other things that I want to talk about besides them knowing me or not personally. And there were a couple of times I would like to say this where I actually got the wrong thing. I called from my job, said, "Hey, you gave me the wrong thing," and they made it better. Okay, the next time I saw them, I didn't have to go back then. I just took it, and that was it. But that also happened with hamburger franchises. Also, I had to call them on it. I had a receipt because a lot of times people don't get receipts now, and a lot of times I've seen the people enough to know that if there's a minor mistake, I can ride with it. But normally speaking, they see me all the time, no matter what restaurant for fast food. I might eat in there once, but yeah, I'm a regular customer. So if I go to a Starbucks in another country, am I a regular? I'm still a regular because I'm still going to Starbucks. But those people don't necessarily know me. If I go to another state, I'm a regular customer. but those people don't necessarily know me. And that's what's so funny about the whole thing. They are really catering to the local fare. The local fare. Of course you are. And they think it will bring it back to people who have never been to that particular Starbucks. But they want to change the seating arrangements in them. A lot of them is not for doing business in. Sometimes it's best to do business if the Starbucks has a big enough place where you can sit outside and do that type of work with your hobby or your business or whatever it is. However, as I'm reading my notes, and the one thing I just found out as I was doing my research these past couple of days, because I was taking a lot of notes here, and I was also on Copilot getting some information about certain franchises and what's going on there. And I found some interesting things. Historically speaking, financially, historically speaking. Sometimes the co-pilot tells me the same old thing. I said, no, I want to be more specific. Now, I just found out as I was doing this that now the CTO, technology officer, that just quit, that just resigned. Just like that. So they got somebody else who was probably second in command or someone who probably deserves that position for a short while. I don't know. And they're going to let go 1,000 employees. I thought it was 1,000 stores, but we know that over the past years since Starbucks was coming on like gangbusters in Los Angeles, that after about 10 years, some stores are closed because they have a lot of stores. And that's what I'm driving at right now. Starbucks has a store on almost every corner. They have one across the parking lot. It could be in a market, but it's across the parking lot. There's another Starbucks. I probably talked about that before, but I have to bring it up again. There's another Starbucks. It's not a drive-through. And I've been to quite a few Starbucks. There's not a drive-through. Because sometimes the drive-throughs are so slow. And people be asking for this and that. And so sometimes it's best to get out the vehicle, but a lot of times I don't want to get out the vehicle. There's a right time to go to drive-through, and there's some other time to go to drive-through. But everywhere is doing drive-through now, and everywhere is pretty crowded. So what are you going to do? And sometimes the parking lots are full. So what are you going to do? You got to do the best you can with whatever decisions you make if you got to go from one to the next. Not just A and B, not just going to A and B, but you got to go one place to the next. Sometimes you make a food stop and you stop at Starbucks at the same time because you don't want that coffee from that place. You want it from Starbucks. And sometimes you want coffee from someplace else, but you want a food from Starbucks. So all those things come into play with Starbucks. But Starbucks has so many locations that I just don't know why they're having problems. But then again, deep down inside, you probably will know why they have problems. Because they're just a lot of Starbucks. You see people in them. It don't seem like there's any kind of problem, including the ones that are low performing. Because I passed by plenty Starbucks. I even stopped at one or two in the evening time after work and found out that was closed. There were people inside, but there was a sign up saying it was closed. Now, I don't know if that was underperforming or not, but I know that in the morning time there's a long line, and then all of a sudden it's not. But if you go a couple of miles down the road, there's another Starbucks. It probably was busy, but there's no one there now, and you can just drive on in. So there's plenty of times where I go into Starbucks where you just drive on in, depending on what time it is. It's either during rush hour, it might be crowded, but the morning time, it might be crowded. And then sometimes it's best to go to one that does not have a drive-through and it's much faster. You just have to find a place to park. And if you like me, when you got an Einstein Brothers on one side and a Starbucks on another, and then a corner bakery there and a Panera or whatever, you got to pick and choose. Any, many, miny, and mo. Which one do I want to choose to go? Right? Hey, I rhyme. Any, many, miny, mo. Which franchise I should get to go? I changed it around a little bit. But but like anyone else, even though Starbucks is my choice, generally speaking, I do try other franchise places, even though Starbucks is my go-to place. This, that's no big deal. I think that's everybody's go-to place. And I think a lot of people go to different Starbucks from here and there. Like me, I go to the other places, you know, Dutch Brothers. It's just a novelty thing. It's just a fun thing. I go there, different drinks. Sometimes you don't want food. A lot of those drinks are like is like drinking a malt shake from way back in the past when they really had malt shakes. Coffees have taken over the malt shake business, and that's probably why I take in so many calories because it's more than ice cream. So yeah, they have so many places, but then again, they're still losing. They're losing in each quarter. And I think that's why I just found out the technology officer, that might have something to do with it. But they're still trying to figure out why that they're losing each quarter. Well, I tell you why they're losing each quarter. Because you got other franchises that's always been there that really wasn't affected. Starbucks really didn't get affected by those ones that were already there, including the ones that are trying to come up. Really, there's really only one is coming on like gangbusters. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's coming on strong, and we know who they are. This Dutch Brothers, because you see one being built. I've seen one being built not too far from another one, so I know where all the Dutch Brothers are. I know where all the coffee bean and tea leaves are. I know where all the Clash Brothers are. Of course, I should know all those things, even though I don't constantly go to those. I know where they are. There's a couple of things that I asked about a foreign company, Tim Horton. I'm still wondering why Tim Horton hasn't broke through the U.S. market. Maybe up north further into Canada, because that is a Canadian franchise. But let's just talk a minute before I get to that. I didn't know that Pete's Coffee, that's another one, Pete's Coffee, really don't have franchises. They have corporate. I'm still trying to understand that. but they don't have like franchisees. But it's a corporate thing. I guess they haven't got to that, but yet they have, like they said, what they said. How many did they say they have? Get my note. Peach got 300 and I think 39 locations throughout the United States. 339. Caribou is another one. Pete's and them are not really giving Starbucks competition. Tierra Mia is not giving Starbucks any competition either, even though they are growing. They only have a few coffee houses. Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf have quite a few, but they're not. Maybe they give them a little bit of competition, but not much. But I had to go on my computer because I wanted to know. In California alone, we have 11,351 coffee shops. You hear what I just said? And most of these coffee franchises are in San Francisco and San Jose. I thought they was here in Southern California because there's so many mom and pop coffee shops such as Joker's Coffee and some other coffee branches that I wanted to check out. And I just found out about more. I've been knowing it, but maybe I'm not going to mention them right now because I'm going to check them out, and that's going to be a separate thing. But I even inquired about Seattle's Best. It didn't have much to say about it, so you really have to go in there and just read about it. But Seattle's Best, Starbucks came out of Seattle's Best, and then they end up buying some of those franchises, I believe, and that's why you still see Seattle's Best on the supermarket shelves, and you see Starbucks coffee on the supermarket shelves, and you see Pete's Coffee on the supermarket shelf, depending on which supermarket. But I was interested in, of course, has all the franchises, but they are getting competition, I think, combined. They are getting competition. It's starting to happen because, frankly speaking, there are a lot of people who do try the other coffee companies, and I believe that maybe it has taken away some of the business. But I don't think it's taken away a lot of business because I think you're gonna have ups and downs, closures, and then you're gonna have some opens someplace else. I just found out about a coffee company. I probably shouldn't say anything about it, but like they have a lot of controversy, but they're coming about. But Tim Horton is the big dog in Canada. They have what they say, I believe 4,200 franchise locations in Canada alone. And when I went up in Canada, they do have about 900 and I think Copilot said 999 or 900 plus Starbucks in Canada. So there are Starbucks there. There are other small other coffee places there that are growing leaps and bounds. And of course, a lot of these coffee companies started in either Toronto or Montreal, basically Toronto. But Tim Hortons sells coffees like the other places and sandwiches and stuff like that. The restaurant that I saw when I was there was a little bit bigger. I wanted to go in, but I really didn't have the time. I was trying to find something to get. I think we did buy a couple of cans. And you can get it online because it seems like Tim Horton do have some good coffee bean stuff there going on. But like I said, it come out of Canada. They're a really big franchise there. They can probably give Starbucks a run for their money. But then again, if Starbucks got 900 franchises, one of them I went to, believe it or not bragging, in Niagara Falls, I went to a Starbucks in Niagara Falls. That was some time ago. That was like 14 years ago. In fact, I believe it was like 2012. I think that's the last time when I went to Niagara Falls, went to a Starbucks in Niagara Falls. I think that's probably the first time that I bought a Starbucks outside the country. And I think the price was a little bit different. I don't know if there was tax in it or not, but I did use my Starbucks card at the time because it was not an app on my phone at that time. Now I use an app now, and I still download it both ways, either cash or through the bank. But Starbucks is having problems because I still think the other companies are more liberal like. They're not worried about what they look like, their clothes. Now, there's nothing wrong. But if you're telling employees just because you change staff that they need to get back to where they was before, a lot of them never did leave what it was when they first started. But you can't be telling people to buy clothes and you're not going to reimburse them, especially the way things are going on now. I'm sure some people do that anyway on their own. But if a company's going to supply you things and they're talking it and you got to do it yourself, then what's the point? Clothes is the issue. The type of aprons you wear is the issue. And some of these other coffee companies, include the mom and pop ones, even the weird ones, they're wearing what they want and they're still doing great business. So yeah, I'm gonna try all the other ones down there because it's only right. Because there are many, many, many flavors. Some too sweet, some just right, and some don't taste good at all. Some charge extra for cream. Now Starbucks want to charge extra for this, a little bit of that. They did charge extra for certainty, but now it seems like they're making a big deal out of it. So Starbucks can keep doing what they've been doing. Don't change. Don't change at all. But that's not gonna necessarily mean you're not gonna have competition. More so than you did in the past. There are more people buying coffee. They're talking about all these different cultures. Well, I guess this is the coffee culture because that's what I've been reading. The coffee culture. They're right. Because the coffee houses are not just selling coffees down, they're still selling hot chocolate, they're still selling teas, they're still selling both hot and cold. And some of them just serve snacks like sweets. They don't serve sandwiches. So Starbucks is serving sandwiches. Coffee Bean Tea Leaf is serving sandwiches. Clutch Coffee is serving sandwiches. Sandwiches. Now that's not a really big place, but they have a couple of places here. And Pete's Coffee serves sandwiches. I did inquire about the other places, the Dunkin' Donuts, the Yum Yums, the Winchell's. There's one that I didn't ask about. I have yet to go there. And there is a new place that I want to check out. One is not new, but it's still around. This is Robert Deschamps. I took extreme notes before. I've taken some notes now. So this is the coffee culture, and it's been getting stronger. We still make coffee at home. I drink less coffee at home. I do know how to make iced coffee. I can use a blender, but I still prefer going out and buying my cups of coffee, hot or cold, and that's what I like to do. And I'll see you in my next video. I would like to thank specifically my new subscribers. I'm coming out. I do it improvisely. I'm coming out. Trying to be more like myself. I'm talking to you all out there. I'm not talking to myself. And that's what YouTube is all about. I don't know which direction I'm going to go into. But right now, I'm going to practice with this. That's what I said. Practice. Hear me? Practice. Practice live. Might change the subject some other day. I've been setting up my other vacations of the same old places. And even though I go to the same places, there's always something that I have not done. But believe me, wherever I go, it's either coffee, lemonade, or some other flavors. I'll see you in my next video. Have a great rest of your evening. I did get a little sick today, probably because I worked more hours overtime last night. And I think the medicine that I took before I had my root canal is still in the system. But I got through it today. I said I got to tackle this coffee thing. Talk to you later. Like they say, it doesn't sound, that sounds kind of funny to me, but I'll say it. Have a great one. Have a great one. I think that sounds funny no matter who says it. Have a great one. I guess it is real. I guess it could be realistic depending on who's saying it. Have a great one. Hmm. Have a good cup of coffee or tea. See you later.